The Netherlands was our 13th country. We traveled to Kinderdijk, just south of Rotterdam. Kinderdijk is a UNESCO World Heritage Site that holds 19 windmills that are excellent examples of the Dutch water management system to prevent flooding that has been in place for close to 1,000 years. Our drive to Kinderdijk had many interesting sights along the way. You park at a shipyard there just south of the World Heritage Site and take a shuttle up into the facility. There's a nice visitor center with cafe and gift shop and so forth, as you can see here. And then the windmills are spread out before you all down the canal. There are 19 windmills at Kinderdijk. They were built in the late 1730s and 1740s as a part of a system to control flooding from the sea and the inland waterways. Along with the windmills were a series of pumping stations and so forth that moved the water out away from the fields. Now, these pumping stations are electric, as you can see here, and they do the job. However, the windmills are still operational and can be put into service if those pumping stations go out. Kinderdijk draws several million visitors every year. The UNESCO World Heritage Site is one of the top places to visit in Europe. They have a very nice facility, and they have got set up where you can do lots of activities. One is they have two boats that run up and down the canal. One is basically a shuttle boat that takes people from the visitor center up to the far end and back. The other is a tour boat, and the tour boat will take you all around the windmills, all the way to the far end and back to the visitor center. And there's the staff members on board the boat give you a wonderful history lesson about Kinderdijk and how the mills worked and how the people lived there. We greatly enjoyed the tour, and it was very informative. Unfortunately, we lost all the video from that tour and actually from the rest of our visit. So the rest of this will all be pictures showing you the area and the windmills. Along with the boat tour that you can take at Kinderdijk, you can also walk to most of the windmills along with a very nice foot and bike path that goes through the whole area. The windmills are very interesting to see up close, and three of them can be entered. One is only used for special occasions, but the other two are set up, one like the windmill would have been in the 1920s, and the other as it would have been in the 1950s. Now, people lived in these windmills, and they were very small and very compact, and they had to maintain them and keep them readily available all the time. At this point in time, people still live in these windmills. I'll tell you more about that in a minute. But they have to maintain these mechanical functions, these large cogs and wheels and turbines that are used to control the windmill. And it's very interesting the way that these actually work and the standards that you have to keep them to so that they work flawlessly. And to do that, they still have folks that live at these windmills. They have to be a certified miller, so they have to go to school and get an advanced degree. And then they get to live there for only 500 euros a month. And again, it's like the ultimate tiny home, but they also have to make sure the windmill is kept operational, it's kept up to standards, and it's available for use should it ever be needed. As I mentioned, the windmills are there to keep the flooding away from the farmland. And at Kinderdijk, they have a farm exhibit right next door to the windmills that you could walk through and see the way that the farm animals would have been raised at the time and so forth. There's also a exhibit of a floating exhibit of a boat that would have been used to run up and down the canal. That boat is interesting to walk through and see how little room they had on it. Kinderdijk was a wonderful place to visit. We had a marvelous time there. It was really very interesting, and it was great to go to a UNESCO World Heritage Site. After enjoying our time at Kinderdijk, we decided to make the 45-minute drive up the road to The Hague in South Holland. The Hague is the home to the International Court of Justice, which is the principal judicial organ of the United Nations. The International Court is seated in a building called the Peace Palace, which is a magnificent structure. After that, we drove around some of the small towns south of The Hague, interesting towns, the bicyclists, windmills that pop up just around the corner, and every town seems to have its own little canal for you to park your boats. And after you park your boat, you jump out and you go to a place like Midas where you can get a meal that is like what I got, Dutch food, or like what Jenny got, a nice burger.